just applaud the committee for all of the work that you have been doing. Instead of being reactive, you've been proactive, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
So a few days ago, I received a township notification that there is a do not knock list that I can register for. I'm wondering if there is an equivalent registration for politically motivated, alarming, anonymous text sent regarding township issues. I am specifically asking because of a text that I received yesterday evening around dinner time about the fair share housing development at 11 Main Street that I found particularly intrusive. Intrusive because of its anonymity and message around an issue that is of great significance to this town and coincidentally to the upcoming primary election in about 2.5 weeks. I also found it intrusive because of its anonymity. Shouldn't the persons, campaigns, political organizations who are responsible for this text be identified so that they can be held accountable for the accuracy of the texts and the linked petition, because there was a linked petition, information, and so that township residents can assess whether there is a particular bias, interest, financial interest of the text authors. I assume that this was a mass text since I have spoken with several people who also received it, who were similarly turned off by the text author's anonymity and lack of accountability. So I'm wondering, is there a do not text list? You can laugh all you want.
You're serious, right?
I'm very serious.
Okay, no. Excuse me. Ms. Nesser, what we're going to do is we'll let everyone speak, and then at the end, we'll be more than happy to address every comment that people have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Will 46 Maple Street in Millburn. Unlike Stephanie, I was glad I got that text. I got the same text at 6 p.m. during dinner last night, and the text was very informative. I feel like the text was necessary. And also, Stephanie, I didn't know you were going to be here tonight. I have something to say. I have something to say to you.
No.
You attacked me last year.
Miss Olawabi,
Yes.
Miss Olawabi.
I should address that because, you
Miss
know,
Olawabi,
it's a
sorry.
free country
Can
and
you-
anyone can do anything they want.
Jesse, would you just hold her for a moment? I don't want you to lose your precious time because
Okay.
it's important to me,
So
but address
right
me,
now,
please.
tonight, I would like to say congratulations to all the officers who received an award tonight. And to those who were keeping the town safe while this was taking place. That was a very slick move on your behalf to have this tonight, knowing that we will be discussing the affordable housing. I'm proud to see our taxpayers' dollars in action as I see that they have been busy at the Short Hills Mall and at the Upton. As important as that was to honor those who protect us, what's even more important and more pressing for our town is about this affordable housing. I'll start off by stating that I am for affordable housing. What I am not for is the way that it's been addressed. We have 3 of the township committee members who are not for this town. They may think they are, but they are not. Across the state, no one wants it done this way. I spoke with some of the people who would rather spend the money on lawyers than to go this route. I spent my Saturday morning at the DPW. I can tell you that I spoke to more residents than you guys have ever spoken to, and they all don't want this. These are the residents who use the DPW. We know the toxicity of this land. Why are we building? You cannot put your own children on this land. You cannot allow your own family to live on this land. Why are we building on this land? We also still need to maintain we need to be transparent to the residents of Millburn. Residents of Millburn, these are the people that you vote in office. You have the right to vote them out. You need to wake up. I said this last year, I'm saying it again this year. You have to wake up and vote for person and not party. A petition was passed around, and so I was the first one to sign this petition. Now it's over 800 residents who have signed this petition. I would like you all to also remember that you all were elected by the residents of this town who are signing this petition. They don't want this. You are voted by Millburn residents, not by Essex County. So why do you owe allegiance? Who do you owe allegiance to? The residents who vote you in or Essex County? Who picked RPM as the person to build on this land? Did you all make that decision on your own? Or were you given an order to pick this person to come and build on this land? It is disgusting what's happening. And you all need to make a change, and you need to make the change now. Thank you.
Ms. Oluwabi. No, you can talk about whatever you want.
Hey, McDonald, what's it say, 2:30? I'm supposed to get 3 minutes.
You do, you get 2:30 and then an extra 30.
Is that true? Really? Okay. Okay, I don't want, I know the way you count. Anyway, Josh Shar, Short Hills. You know, a number of months ago, I sent an email to all members with a number of issues about the affordable housing. The last one was the issue about conflict. And the conflict is specific to Mayor Miggins because she is in the real estate business. The response from the mayor was that she doesn't handle rentals in terms of that. So one goes to Mayor Miggins' website, and you see that past rentals are 99 North Hillside Avenue, you know, a whole bunch of them. And 26 Raleigh Place, 53, and being part of the Compass group, there's quite a number more. So I would question the legitimacy of the vote, considering it was a 3-2 vote with 2 members against and 3 members for, that there was not an overwhelming majority that were voting for it. And I would put it into the hands of council as well as probably the Essex County Ethics Board to determine in terms of how this thing should be handled. If there is conflict, one recuses themselves. That is customary. And you're in real estate, you shouldn't be voting on that. So I want this to put on record. Who do I hand this to? Okay,
Jesse.
here, wait. Okay, here, go. And it'll also go to the Essex County Ethics Board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I made it. Perry Urso, 514 Millburn Avenue in Short Hills. Mr. Shar, I have to agree with you about conflicts. I've had a couple conflicts with some of these board members myself. I listened to some of our reports. Mayor, I have some questions if maybe you want to, our oversight with Mr. Wasserman with the SID board, because he is the oversight for the SID board, and you kind of left a few things out. And so I guess your vacancy rates are going down. But anyways, I made one go up. So maybe we'll weigh it out. Anyways, I want to ask each and every one of the township committee people, has each member received and reviewed the SID's calendar year 2019 and 2020 audit, footnotes, findings, and recommendations? I'd also like to ask, when did the TC learn that the JIF insurer had declined to defend the Bear Properties SID validity matter? If a prerogative writ action is filed within 20 days of the estoppel period, does this filing stay the effective date of a contested ordinance? Mr. Corner. Number 4, when did the TC learn that there were 5 properties which failed to pay their calendar year 2022 SID assessment? Who and what part of the SID will be affected by the financial shortage? Will the professionals such as the executive director, the marketing director, will they still get paid? Will the other hired professionals, such as the board attorney, website designer, still get paid? Will events be canceled? Or our bands get canceled? Will the expanded 4 districts bear the burden? Why isn't prior mayor Tara Propus screaming like she did in 2018? Thank you for your time and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Ms. Urso. Good evening.
My name is Christine Best. I live at 15 Fairfield Terrace in Short Hills with my husband Ira. And this is probably, I haven't been in front of you guys in a really long time. I actually have 3 issues, so I'm going to make it really short, sweet on 2. One of them is a key issue for me. The first issue is I actually support, recusal Maggie that he suggested on the issue with the building on the township dump. I support Tara's position, and I think Richard. I'm sorry, no. The other, I don't know everybody on the board, so I'm kind of embarrassed, but so I support where Tara stands on that, and I just want to make that evident in support. I don't need to go into details about it. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about that's really important to me, and I'd like to just really ask a few questions if possible. You can think about it, maybe get back to me. I'm happy to talk through email. I'm very concerned about small cell technology coming into the township. It is a countrywide and worldwide phenomenon. I don't know if you've been paying attention to all the high power lines that have been going through Livingston and Chatham, where they're doubling up. They're putting 5G cells everywhere. It's happening slowly. It's been happening throughout the pandemic, under sort of the cloak of darkness. Actually, we actually have 5G cells that I just noticed. Actually, I don't know the address, but it's located right on the corner of Main Street and Millburn Avenue on the red brick building. So they've been disguised and painted sort of a red brick color. So I was wondering, is there any oversight to 5G cell installation on private property or on businesses? And are people who are actually frequenting those businesses, residing in those houses, residing next to those houses, being told that when you take an EMF reader to these places or nearby? I'll give you an example. When I have my EMF reader, and it's a lower quality, a trifield meter. If I go 150 yards from the cell tower that's near the LA Tahari building, I forget the name of the street that runs close to 78, where they have sort of all those near the ShopRite. Mm-hmm. I think it was at 13.5 RF reading. And when I'm just floating around in my neighborhood up on Fairfield Terrace, I'm at a 0.03. The hospital, St. Barnabas actually installed these 5G cells. For what reason, I have no idea why somebody would install 5G cells in the hospital. So the reading there was very, very high. And so when you go from a 13, I think the reading in town was probably sort of at a mid rate, but I'll make it really fast. Can I just say one last thing? So what I'd like to do, instead of I don't want to complain to you about it. I would like to work with the committee and maybe try to start a committee, because I want to make sure that there's oversight and there's safety, and there's not like a wreck right now, except for on the large scale cell towers with the zoning board that I'm aware of.
Thank you. Thank you,
that's
Ms. Best.
Good evening, Dennis Fabian, 1 Barbary Lane, Short Hills.
Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening. Well, I think we have multiple issues to discuss here. Number 1, transparency. Based on the fact that there's now close to 900 people who have signed that petition concerning the DPW site, I feel that probably there wasn't much transparency in town noting what was going to be put there. Number 2, we still haven't seen any feasibility studies for that property or the town based on the influx of people. Number 3, the EPA reports are still basically relatively hidden, and now they're in a second stage of testing. Does everybody know what a second phase testing is? Okay, that means that they found something on the first phase. They're looking for more on the second phase, and if they find hot spots, then you go into a third phase of testing, where the toxicology may be too high to even build anything there. So since we don't even have that yet, we have no alternatives in mind if you cannot build on that site. And as I said several months ago here, this town is too wealthy to have an Erin Brockovich moment. Think about that. Your reputations, everyone up there is on the line. You will own this, everyone here, from the town administrator to everyone on this committee. So be very careful what you put on that site. The last issue is it is even against fair share housing's rules to put 100% affordable housing on a site. Okay, 100% affordable housing. How that occurred, I have my thoughts, because we have two other building projects in the middle of town, which probably circumvented some of their responsibility for the lower income units. So be very careful what's going to happen. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Gagan.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Feld, 11 Alexander Lane, Short Hills, New Jersey. First, I want to tell everyone, my wife and myself had a great time at the Holly event. That next year, I recommend that the whole community attend that event. It was the culture of the sharing of the population. I just recommend that. Yes, on June 7th, there is a contested primary. I am running off the line. There's a referendum on transparency and the fair share housing settlement. What occurred here on July 30th, 2021. Regarding the fair share settlement, I think the public's entitled to know, has the court set a deadline for the public to notify the court that they want to participate in the final compliance hearing? I'm on the website. I have not been told. I think the public needs to know when the deadlines are to notify the court that they want to participate in that hearing. As to the Memorial Day parade, I'd like to participate. I'd like to know the protocol, how I can participate in that parade. As to the agenda tonight, on the bill list, there's a distinction from payments out of the general fund and from escrow trust funds. I think that should be explained to the public, how certain payments were made to the pantry, which came out of the general fund rather than trust fund monies. As to the Essex County Hold Harmless Resolution 22-137, in the future, can you please let the agenda caption match what the actual caption is on the resolution? Because if there's like a little confusion for transparency. And as to, it seems the home harmless allowed the county, how many parking spaces are we talking about giving up on Essex Street in Millburn? As to the cafe license resolution, we had one last meeting. It seems like two of the businesses are the same. Are they getting additional licenses, or is that just a proofreading oversight from the prior meeting? As to the collective bargaining approval resolutions 22, 140, and 141, I'm glad we're going into a collective bargaining agreements, but I think the public's entitled to know what is the aggregate cost going to be over the 5 years. It says 2.5%. That's a salary and is a pension, and it increases each year because it's based on the other year, so we know what the cost is. I think a schedule for the public would help us. Also, it talks about two different types of steps being added. I think the public's entitled to an explanation because the agreements are not attached. As to the flood mitigation easement, have the two property owners consented to this easement? And I think we were entitled to have a little more clarification for how long that proposal has been out there before IDA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feld.
Good evening. Tom Cash, 2 East Lane in Short Hills. I want to just register my opposition to the fair share housing proposal. The first element of that is that, as I understand it, this was negotiations were conducted in secret, and I personally really had no knowledge until just recently that this was even happening, and I had no understanding of what are the other alternatives that were considered. I think the dump site is a particularly poor location for this. as we referred to before, who knows what kind of toxic waste is on that site. Secondly, the concentration of the affordable housing in a single place, I think, contradicts all experience with public housing. To have everyone in a concentrated place, there'll be stigma associated with the people who are there. I think that's going to be really bad for the residents, and we should be interested more in dispersing them so that the residents who take advantage of the fair share housing have the ability to not be stigmatized in a way that they're concentrated in a single place. I'm a little mystified as I read it in terms of what benefits we got for having agreed to this, where essentially, as I understand it, there's 2.5 years now of forbearance on builders' remedies. And, given the length of time it takes to acquire land, build a project, seems to me like we really got nothing at all out of that agreement. I would urge the council to reconsider this and at the very least postpone any commitments to the fair share housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cash.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerry Kung, and I live on Lee Terrace in Short Hills. I'm a relatively new resident in town, so I apologize in advance if my understanding of the events thus far is incorrect. I'm deeply disturbed by a pattern of secrecy shrouding the proceedings related to the 100% affordable housing development. First and foremost, there's the repeated mischaracterization that the settlement discussions were to be kept confidential from residents, when the judge expressly said that this wasn't the case. And so this shut out resident participation and delayed our being notified of this matter until only several months ago. And I forget the gentleman's name who spoke before me, but clearly this is problematic. Secondly, the vote to designate RPM as the conditional developer for this project was rammed through in a contentious 3-2 vote on February 15th this year. Importantly, the dissenting votes noted that the proceeding this was going way too quickly. I should note that there were a total of 4 RFPs, maybe now 5, since another one was submitted following the hasty vote designating RPM. Where are these other RFPs, and why were they never shown to the residents? Even if we decided not to go with them, surely we could have benefited from seeing the other ideas generated by other qualified developers. What was the rush to designate RPM conditional? There's too many problems with the currently envisioned development for me to state here. I'm sure all of our friends and neighbors will point out a multitude of issues today. Thirdly, the lawyer the town council has hired has also represented RPM in the past. So whose interests is he actually representing? I'm going to return to a word that I used earlier, which is secrecy, and I'm being generous here. Perhaps we may need to downgrade that to outright deception. If this continues, it will no longer be a result of negligence and incompetence, rather something more intentional and nefarious. I encourage the town council to be more transparent and open to the ideas of our residents. Allow us all to participate. We have so much human capital in this town, and it's hard for me to believe that we can't all come together to reach a consensus on the best way forward. With that, I'd also like to implore all residents to vote in the town council primary on June 7th, Tuesday, to make your voices heard. Follow along with the conversation. Do your due diligence as to who will stand up for your beliefs and rights. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Thank you.
Are you talking on 260122 this evening? Corner property,
26, say it again,
Yes.
ma'am.
260122?
Yes, ma'am.
You are?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, I'd like to speak on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Linda Lindsley. I'm a resident of town, 18 Dorset Lane. I missed the last meeting and learned that this would be discussed. So I just want to make a few comments. Just as a background, I saw the agenda, but I didn't see certain things in the packet because I wanted to, read up on it because I missed the last meeting. I noticed that you referenced 2019 zoning board adjustment in the agenda. And I just questioned, I was not able to see that report. I didn't see it on the website. I didn't see it in the packet. I don't know if I missed it, but I'd like that to be commented on. I then also looked for more recent ones because I thought that was an annual thing. So for background, where you might change the ordinance for corner property, and it was based on what was in this report. I didn't have an opportunity to see it. I don't know if it was published and I missed it. But then I don't know if they were more recent, which I would ask the council to consider deferring this vote until the residents have an ability to know what the issue is. And if I understand it,
I'm going to interrupt you one
Go ahead.
second. Just hold that time, please.
okay,
Are you talking about the corner lot?
yes,
Yes, okay. There will be public comment, but if you wish to use your
Oh,
time on this,
okay.
if you wish to use your time on this,
no, this is my first meeting. Tell me when I have to speak. I'll come back.
she could continue
She can
speaking. No,
finish
no,
now.
pardon?
She can finish now. She can-
Finish now. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure we were, okay,
Okay,
keep
very
going.
good.
Thank
Okay,
you.
So basically, I have just a question which doesn't
Excuse me.
totally relate to that, but how I sort of learned
I'm trying to hear.
learned of this question. I'd like to understand who really makes the final determinations when things change on a lot that requires a zoning approval. So in these cases, and it talks about accessory structures and that some residents would not be able to put things on the lot if it wasn't for this ordinance. And I don't understand that fully. I called the zoning board and did not get an answer. So I don't know if this relates to any of the things we've already talked about. What structures now are going to be closer to the street? It may be important based on who makes the approval and what's going closer to the street. I also don't see in the report, the county report, because I would believe some of this involves drainage and county approvals because some of these go onto a county lot. So in general, I'm opposed to this until I see all these records that may have some relevance, and I don't understand why we're using dated knowledge. And I have concerns as a resident because of recent, I have found for some, in my neighborhood, it's very unclear as to who's making decisions and approvals, zoning, planning, owners, and it seems like there's a lack of transparency or accountability. And now with this loosening up, I fear that it's really going to add to flooding, add to issues, and I think the residents deserve the transparency to really have all this information available. And if I missed it, if it could be deferred until we have that information, I would like the council to maybe explain it to the residents. So that was my main thing. I was just concerned. I didn't understand the accessory, what the urgency of this was, and I'd like clarity. And what happens if there's a dispute? You know, one should say who makes the decision here, if there's disputes in lines and what this relates to. And do we have an approval from the county for county roads and how that affects?
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you, Ms. Lindsay.
I am Ted Kuntz at 108 Forest Drive in Short Hills.
Hello, Mr.
And
Kuntz.
my question is really on the transparency issue that everyone else has addressed, but it goes more to the finances of this project. You've approved a project that we really don't know what it's going to cost the town. We've got a site that's has to be cleaned up, and I assume the town's going to be responsible for the remediation of that site. And we don't know how many millions of dollars that's going to cost us. And also, if a developer is putting in 75 low-income housing units, you can't possibly make that an economic viable without subsidies. So we'd like to know what is the town's, what are we on the hook for here? What is the township on the hook for? I know there might be state money, there might be county money helping to support this project, but we don't know. We have zero numbers and we have zero idea of what this could cost us. It could be tens of millions for all I know. And it'd be nice to know that before we proceed with the project, to really get a sense of what it's going to cost the township. And so I'm asking you to kind of consider postponing